What happens when you combine the most innovative, eccentric and charismatic leaders, disruptors and founders from tech with the pedigree and history of one of the most established institutions within the City of London? The Searching for Mana podcast will be produced in partnership with the London Stock Exchange. I'm Lloyd Wahed, the host of Searching for Mana. We're going to be interviewing some of the leaders, influencers and disruptors in the tech space, where I'm going to be trying to dig in and find out what's their mana, their superpower, their magic. Veronica, welcome on to Searching for Mana.
Hi Lloyd. Hi everyone. It's great to be here.
Great to have you on the show as well. Really excited about this. If you could be so kind to give an introduction to the audience, please.
Yes. Hi everyone. Really appreciate anybody who's tuning in for the episode today. This is Veronica, CEO and co-founder of SafePal. So SafePal is a non-custodial wallet that is right now serving more than close up to 10 million users already at the current moment. And we offer to retail investors with a comprehensive suite of wallet solutions, including hardware wallets, mobile wallet, and browser extension. Till this moment, we have supported 55 blockchains, and we have supported 15 languages already. So users get to enjoy the best user experience in the product. So I personally has been in crypto for more than 6 years. So I grew interest in crypto and blockchain in 2017 during the ICO boom. And a year later, I founded SafePal, the company, and then it's been 5 years since we've been building in the space.
How's it been being a business owner, founder? The last 5 years is a journey we'll cover on this show. But yeah. Headlines, are you ecstatic you made that leap into founding SafePal?
Yeah, it's 5 years, a lifetime journey. Because there's a saying that a day in crypto space is almost like a year in real life, right? So it's a really bumpy journey because we took 2 years to sustain ourselves, and we took 4 years to build the complete product suites that we kind of designed for ourselves from day one. So it's a very long building journey with a very limited helping hands that we have. We are quite proud that we have achieved such a milestones 5 years later, and most importantly, we're still living, right? Because 5 years, we are already witnessing 2 bull bear cycles already, and we are still standing here, which is quite rare. And not to mention a lot of the founders that we met 5 years ago, they are right now either have left the industry altogether, or they have pivots in their career path already. So it's rare to see a company like us still building, still delivering after a long journey. So yeah, I can only say it's quite a very bumpy journey. We have witnessed so many changes in the industry, and every year there's a new trending topic that people talk about. 3 years ago, it was DeFi. 2 years ago, it was NFT. And last year, it was Metaverse. And every year, the industry kind of have new kind of popping up journeys, trending. Yeah, so that's kind of an amazing journey that we had.
If I think about one day in crypto is a year in the real world, I think right now the real world might be experiencing that too. We're in March. True. We're in March 2023, but I can only testify to that as well. It's Paris Blockchain Week this week. And I was thinking about some of the talks I went to last year and some of the people that I met for the first time there last year. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I've known those people for 3 years. And, the projects they've been working on have changed so much. And you're like, oh my God, it was just 1 year ago. It's so true, isn't it? If you think in the last year what's happened in the crypto space, then that statement is just so absolutely true. But as I said, I think the world is experiencing this potentially right now. I mean, on just the whole macroeconomics. But if we look at banking as well, we've had some banks fail recently, and this is something that obviously you are deeply entrenched into and thinking about. You're on the side of providing a solution within the crypto space. But I wonder how you think through what's happening with the banks, what's happening with the treasuries, and where your product fits into that.
I can imagine if the world is without crypto and blockchain, how they would end up with the recent bank failure. Like, people don't really have other ways to hedge their funds or hedge the risks from centralized banking. Because my previous working experience come from a tech company who's offering fintech products to the top financial institutions for loans, for borrowing and lending, etc. So we've been witnessing a lot of these changes in the banking industry. But what happened in the last couple of weeks is really kind of shocking to all of us, including my ex-colleagues. We've been talking about that for like the whole past week.
Yeah,
I think what we are building here is really giving people more option to pursue financial freedom and opportunity. I think that's crucial, especially when people right now, they don't really have any trusted way or platform that they can really manage their own assets, like regardless traditional assets, fiat assets, or decentralized assets. Then it's going to be a different world. So I think what blockchain and decentralized world really empowered is that it's giving people more freedom, more option, more autonomy in managing their own assets in all different ways, instead of purely relying on the going down centralized financial system that we are now seeing, especially because of the US Treasury pressure that is pressing really hard. It's shocking to see like a bank was acquired within 2-3 days of time. You are seeing the centralized government being so desperate to stop that trend. So it's not falling like domino kind of boards. So that is a really kind of a historical moment that we are seeing nowadays. So I think like based on our latest kind of a trends and the user data that we are seeing, we indeed are seeing user kind of hedging their funds and kind of storing more crypto in the products and even setting up their decentralized wallet. We can see that from the social media. We can see that from our own data. We are indeed seeing the trends that people are losing the trust in centralized banking system, and they are right now gradually hedging their funds in either Ethereum or Bitcoin or some other altcoins that they are seeing in the crypto space. So yeah, I think this is really offering more opportunity and freedom for people to choose from. I mean, even in blockchain and crypto, yes, there are still a lot of problems. Like there are still like a lot of hackings, a lot of malicious attacking. That's true. But so far it's been healthily standing there after more than a decade, and Bitcoin is still there. So I think this is really offering a brand new opportunity for people to really think about like, what is a consensus? What is the consensus of a monetary system? What is really the consensus that is backing the value of the money? Is it because of centralized governments, or is it because of the public consensus that we are seeing nowadays? If you go to any crypto conferences or any blockchain conferences, you can see those consensus forming, floating in the air. And that is very powerful and convincing. And these are the group of people who've been building and delivering. So I think this is really giving, I feel lucky that we found, we have Bitcoin. I feel lucky that we have this space that is allowing people to hedge their risks, apart from when they lose trust from the centralized banking kind of system. So yeah, that's how I feel. But overall, this is really shocking because a lot of my founders' friends are storing monies in those banks. So this is doing real harm on a lot of tech firms and a lot of tech startups. So I'm so sorry to see that. It's really a tragedy. But I still feel lucky that we have Web3 and crypto in general, that this is like another utopian world that we can hedge and store our funds in, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, really well spoken to. So I want just 2 toolkits from you, and then we carry on with the normal flow of searching for mana. But it is such a big situation right now, and you're incredibly eligible to talk to it. So I want to look at 2 things I think that this particular audience would find useful. One from a retail perspective, and then one from actually, there's an awful lot of leaders and entrepreneurs of businesses. So in that order, if somebody is on the retail side, and of course it's with the type of cash that you want to put underneath the mattress, you want to put it into a bank, you want it to just be safe. You're not necessarily speculating. Then how could they look at onboarding into the crypto market? And of course, you're not going to give financial advice, but then technically simply hold some Bitcoin, which looks like it might be as safe a place to put that particular money for that individual, you know, $10,000, $100,000, whatever it might be for that individual. And, you know, is that where SafePal would come in? Can you talk us through that, please?
You are exactly describing the personality that I have, because I am not speculative. I don't really trade, honestly. It's a shame to say that maybe for some person, but I don't trade. So I'm a very firm holder of my crypto assets.
Yeah.
So right now, what I do, and also what I've been recommending a lot of friends to do, is to consider getting a product called SafePal Cipher. It's a very interesting accessory that we built. We never expected to be that successful, but that is one of the most popular products that a lot of our fans love. It's a metallic board of like two pieces of metallic balls to store your C phrase. And it's kind of fireproof, waterproof, and corrosion proof. It can sustain throughout the time. It's simply stored the 12 and 18 or 24 C words that you have, and you simply put it like wherever that you can remember as tight as you can. And you don't need an exchange. You don't need a wallet even. Like because you don't do trading, you don't do speculative kind of assets management. So that is the simplest way that I would recommend to some of my non-tech or non-savvy friends who is not so sophisticated in managing their own crypto or doing the trading. They simply have their fiat on-ramp, they buy some crypto and Bitcoin, and they store the C phrase aside in an offline kind of physical medium, like two pieces of metallic board. That is one of the most popular way. But there are also some other people who will do random transfers. In that case, yes, they would probably need a hardware wallet for the long-term holding purposes. Meanwhile, also have the freedom to move the money elsewhere when they feel necessary. So we do have a lot of users using, for example, the SafePal S1 hardware wallet, which is a offline device. A lot of them would buy two of them, one stored in the safe, one using for daily purposes. And it's an offline device that only communicates with the external world through offline QR codes. So we call it air gap signing. So this medium can prevent any malicious attacking from Bluetooth, from Wi-Fi, from USB connection, because there's none on this device. So till now, we are seeing a lot of users using this type of products to store for large amount of assets while still having kind of some semi-control and moving around the money, because they have a mobile app that is compatible with the device so that they can move the money elsewhere. Meanwhile, we're also seeing a third type of retail investors who would more like less trust centralized exchanges, but that is kind of also risky because they are trusting the funds on a third party. So some of them would even say, well, I'm not a confident person storing my own C phrase and managing my own non-custodial wallet. So maybe it's better that for me to store it on centralized exchanges that is big enough that I have some warranty and I have some assets insurance. But fingers crossed for that part, even though people argue that, and even though some exchanges argue that they do have some funds to cover the assets loss for users, we can't really tell it until bad things happen. So that is already a tragedy ahead. So I personally will still recommend people that if you are not familiar with using a decentralized wallet, you are afraid of making mistakes, then simply go store a C phrase. That is the easiest way, right? Put it under your mattress, whatever, or put it aside in your safe box, right? Find a comfortable way that you can have the full control over your assets while you don't need to rely on a third party. You're only trusting yourself. So I think that is the ultimate kind of Web3 format of how people should manage their own crypto assets.
Yeah, thank you. And really great practical advice, Veronica. And then if we think about it from an SME, a small company, just like, Silicon Valley Bank caused such a furore several days ago, where people who had, in a lot of instances, good amounts of, cash flow management and funds in the bank suddenly didn't have access to that anymore.
Yes.
It just suddenly became a great topic around, well, really, what should you be doing? And, many of the recommendations are, to make sure that you have your resources spread so that if something were to be restricted to you, then it wouldn't be, the all-encompassing tragedy that it would be in that scenario. So again, how would you recommend through almost really crisis management somebody to look at that as a founder or a leader?
That is a tough question. Like there are so many traps that we need to avoid. I mean, I totally understand why due to compliance, due to investment procedures, a lot of the funds and startups would have to store their funds in the banks like SVB, and they simply have no other choices, because it is the most startup friendly bank that they have ever choose. And right now we are seeing two types of Web3 companies. First type is still embracing the traditional finance, which totally makes sense because some of them would accept US dollar funds, US dollar capital from other VCs.
Yep.
They will have to have a traditional bank account to receive that money and for daily expenses, for payrolls and all of that. I don't really know. Even to this moment, I don't have the answer, because that is exactly the question that I have been talking to a lot of my founder friends about. What we do next if we, like, SVB is now failing and we are seeing Credit Suisse being acquired on the table, and what else we can choose, because these are prominent, prestigious brands that have been out there for a very long time. So honestly, for that one, we don't really have an answer. While we have the second type of founders, they are embracing crypto. So they're basically on-ramping their fiat expense into financial sheets into crypto, like altogether. Like they're mostly holding USDC, USDT, all different kind of stable coins, plus a small percentage of Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is how they're managing their financial kind of balance sheets. But that is also risky because right now we are seeing, right, Circle is also having turbulence in the last week, right? And USDT has been challenged of not enough transparency, while Bitcoin and Ethereum are not realistic medium to store because the volatility could impact the company kind of financial healthiness. So it's kind of very tricky. So right now what we are doing is that we are holding mostly stable coins, to be honest. Because we do need to have a stable medium currency that we can handle the daily expenses, payrolls, etc., operations, etc. So that is what we are doing, but we can't say that it's safe enough. So right now we have a small team doing market research, keeping very close track, not about wallets, but about the financial micro and macro environments that we are seeing, closely monitoring what the US Treasury is aiming for the next step, and how the financial institutions, such as the stablecoin issuers, are handling all of the current crisis.
Yep.
And also closely monitoring right now the market making situation that we're seeing on the secondary market. What we can really do is really to keep a close track of the market movement, because right now we can't really trust anybody of, like they have a very decent kind of financial disclosure, so it's a safe option to go. Like nobody can really say that again after the recent crisis. So what we really can do is really to keep track of the market kind of trends and situation, and then make our own decision. This is making the situation very tough for every founder and entrepreneur, honestly, because like nobody dares to provide any such kind of financial advice or suggestion for other founders, because it's really up to their calls, and there's no guarantees for all of these channels even till nowadays. So it's a very challenging kind of 2023 to be, honestly, because based on what happened in the last week. And so far we don't have the answer. So that one, this is a really tough answer. I think if anyone has the answer to that on how to make sure that your company money or your personal investment are safe and secure no matter what, this is gonna be so valuable. It's gonna there should be a masterclass about that, like teaching people how to do it. I would also be the first one to sign up. So far, it's so tricky. It's so challenging. It's so nerve-wracking for all of the founders in our team. And we've been watching, like been reading the news announcement on a daily basis. Every morning when we pop out our eyes and we will hop and then we'll check the news and we check all of the threats that we are seeing on the markets. It's definitely very stressing, but we don't simply have any other ways to do. So yeah, it's a valuable question that needs to be tackled for the rest of the year to be by a lot of other kind of financial institutions, for all of the builders in this section.
Well, we'll just ask ChatGPT-4. They'll have the answer, right?
I have been heavily using that, but honestly, the accuracy rate is problematic somehow. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, whenever I ask it stuff like that, it's just like, I don't give financial advice. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I try that as
well. Thanks for talking to those topics, Veronica. I just thought because of the moment in time, it would be brilliant to have that conversation. We'll move swiftly on now. I think it's a black swan moment in the market. I think there's so much happening right now. It is challenging. It is unnerving. There is no certainty, but this is the environment where great solutions and businesses and evolution will come out of. And I know that you and your founder friends will be thinking about that. But let's go back now. What really struck me is the point you made, which I completely agree with, and congratulations, that 6 years ago, to have looked at a business model in this space, and for that business model still to be, obviously, there's color to it and there's breadth to it, but broadly speaking, exactly on point. I want to try and understand how you, most likely from a first principle perspective, came to thinking through that this was a solution that would be needed and a large opportunity for you. So the founding, yes, the founding story, and I love the brand, and please do include that. But actually, I want to understand your mental model and your process of thinking about why this would be a business that was so big that you would put your whole career and weight behind it.
This can go way back to where I used to work in. So what I used to work in my last company is that we build data-driven products based on consumer data, and we sell it to financial institutions. So it is a typical internet business model that we have been building and witnessing in the last couple of decades, that big tech giants and monopolies, they are kind of nurturing, or they are growing based on consumer data, and they are benefiting from it, right? They are building data-driven models, they're building data mining products, and they sell it to third-party institutions. And this is the business model that we've been seeing for so many years from all of those tech giants. Yeah. When I came across Bitcoin and the kind of proof of work model and the whole consensus model on top behind the cryptocurrency, it struck me because it gives back the data ownership to all of the consumers. It kind of basically throw away and throw over all of the traditional business models that we've been seeing, right? It's giving back the data, the freedom of data to every consumer. It's giving back the power of consumer back to themselves. It's reshaping the brand and consumer relationships, because previously it's a single way. Like, I tell you what I have, I promote my products, but the tokenomics introduce a new relationship between the brand and the consumer, that it's actually the community-centric and building together culture that we're seeing. Web3 is not just the team building it, but also every community contributor also contributing to the ecosystem.
So Veronica, just on that point then, because I know you're going to then move on to the next part of that. Did you not have a good feeling about the mission of those previous type of business models that you were in then?
I feel kind of sad, personal level. I mean, I made it. I was part of it because I had to make my personal living, but I kind of feel sad because it's literally the people who are contributing to the platforms are not taking any advantage of the platform achievements. That's the fact. That's the status quo. And even to this moment, it's still the real situation that we are seeing. So I am also one of the consumers, right? I'm also contributing my data, my behavior, my digital footprints to all these giant platforms, but I'm not being part of it. I'm more feeling I'm like the feeding material for their engine, for their AI and data-driven engine. So that is kind of sad. And it's heartbreaking for a lot of consumers as well. Not to mention, we are now living a time when there's no privacy, when we are using internet, when using digital kind of products, like there's literally no privacy. And selling data business is already been there for a lot of years. And there are a lot of big companies kind of benefiting from that business model. So that's why kind of the whole Bitcoin and the whole distributed network concept struck me, because it's going straight against of what I have been working for many years. So that's how I grew the interest. While like the two other founders that I have, they are super into tech. So they are these kind of utopian kind of insiders. They love the idea of nobody controls who you are. Nobody controls your assets. Only you matters the most. So we looked deeper and we realized that like 5 years ago, there was no DeFi, there was no NFT, there was no metaverse. The only product built on blockchain is cryptocurrency. So if you call it a product, right? There are different kind of cryptocurrencies, but overall they fall under the same umbrella that is like issuing a token on top of blockchain, and that's it. There's no digital footprints, there's no digital behavior on chain, etc. So back then, it was pure based on monetary values of the blockchain ecosystem. So it's almost as very natural for us to come across wallet, because wallet is almost the first stop when we are trying to access our Bitcoin and Ethereum. I bought Ledger, I bought Trezor, I bought basically all of the wallets that I can find from the markets. I also downloaded, for example, like Token, Trust Wallet, a bunch of other wallets as well.
Yep.
And soon I realized that it's kind of difficult to balance user experience and security and the easiness and the powerful feeling of taking full control of my money at the same time, because like there were a lot of fragmented features provided by all different fragmented service providers at the same time. Like there's no single solution that we can really work together for all different purposes, for my staking, for my holding, and for some daily transactions. And every time I make my transfer, it's nerve-wracking for me because I'm afraid of making a mistake and then lose the money at all. So, and the team of us, our team is simply super good in building applicational layer of products. So that's how we grew gradual interest into that segment. And we imagine a future that if the consensus keeps rolling on, if in the future there's a day that everybody is going to hold their own Bitcoin or decentralized assets, they're going to need a wallet. Every one of them would have a wallet. So wallet would become the personal bank. It's going to become the digital Web3 passport that we have. It's going to be the digital login credential that you access all of the unlimited applications built in Web3 and blockchain. So we feel that it comes as a very crucial and critical ecological positions that everybody is going to pay so much attention to. So that's how we started. We started to think about what kind of products we can build. We started to think about a name for the product. Later on, it was called SafePal. And we started to look for external fundraise opportunities as we start to build a team. That's how we started 5 years ago, when all this began. But at the end of the day, it's really the nature of owning your own assets, being the full controller of your own data, not just assets. Like when we talk about digital assets, not just for monetary definition, it's also for all of your on-chain behavior, all of the data usage, right? All of the coming next mirror on-chain, for example, real estates. All of the things that are going to be built on top of blockchain are your digital assets. So that is a broader term of digital assets that we are talking about. So we feel that it's really the nature of owning full control over your own digital assets that struck us. And it's so unique and it's so irreversible, because even in bearish market back in 2018 or 19, that was a super like steep down round of the crypto market, we are still seeing the Ethereum independent unique addresses rocketing high. It never looks back. If right now we go to ethereum.org website, if we check the unique addresses, the curve simply doesn't look back. Like it, even into the super bumpy bearish market, it still go on, like still heads on. So we kind of did some market research, and we have a stronger confidence in the whole industry. We feel that this cannot be easily killed. Bitcoin cannot be easily killed. And what people believe in their consensus cannot be easily killed. And it cannot be reversed once you believe and once you got into it. And it was this kind of instinct and judgment or personal interest of our team that got us into the industry. So yeah, while for the rest of the 5 years, it was pretty boring, to be honest. It was like building, surviving. And that's a very, how to say, long story. But I can still remember the first moment when we finally, the 4 core members of ours sat down on a dining table and we had a meal together, and we say, now is the moment. Let's move ahead. Let's build something, and let's build a wallet. Let's build a wallet that's the best out of its kind. That's the moment that struck us. That was in January 2018. I still remember it's a very windy kind of winter dinner that we had. So that's how we marked the beginning of the story.
Amazing. And look, you know, in a global market, you know, there doesn't need to just be one, right? That there being 3 to several is what you tend to see play out in most markets for a very long period of time. And how I try to look at it, very much like the audience will relate to, you know, the dawn of fintech, and you had different neobanks, and in the first year or two, they were all very similar user case. It's a nice UX and it's a FX card in essence. But then if you see those business models over the several years, vastly different, because in my opinion, the makeup of the founders had different experiences and probably different values, and moved them toward those opportunities where those FX businesses now, one might be in crypto, one might be offering, you know, asset management, another might be very much retail or mortgage related. So they look vastly different now. And it's the same with the type of plays that all of you guys had. It's people coming in, scratching their own itch, going, well, clearly this experience isn't how I would like it to be. And therefore, you know, let's go build into this. So for me, what would be interesting to understand about the 4 of you around that windy dinner table is really how you guys decided to go and embark on this with each other. So really the story around not the user case, but the founders coming together and making such a big commitment, like, you know, 5 years on, it's as big as being married to these individuals, right?
Well, out of the 4 persons that on the dining table, 3 of us have been, so 3 are the founders, like me and the two other founders that we have. The 3 of us have been knowing each other for more than a decade. That's how we naturally have the bonding and the trust relationship throughout the years. We've been working in the same company. We've been knowing each other. We've been knowing each other's behavior style and communication style for so much and so deep. We've been talking about Bitcoin and blockchain overall. We even bought the Bitcoin together. Like, we studied the whole industry for nearly a year. While the 4th member that we have is also the core dev member. He's been working with us for more than 5 years. So actually, this is my first founding journey, but for the other 2 founders, they are serial entrepreneurs. So they have been founding their own teams and companies for more than 10 years. So SafePal is actually not their first company to be built. They previously have other projects, but in a whole different kind of industry. They probably have their own private companies in V2V network, in a smart hardware company. And before that, they were doing cross-border global e-commerce platforms. So they have the whole span of skill sets and experience in not just founding a company, but also have a very deep understanding of business model, of how to build a successful business together. So actually the 4 of us have such a strong binding that actually is not the it's not the decision making of, oh, moving into a new industry or moving into a new opportunity that is the most challenging. It's actually the most challenging part is about like how we find the market opportunity, how we cut into the market, what are the positions that we should use, and what are the strategies. So it's already going, because across all of the discussions before that dinner, like we spent like at least 6 or 7 months in talking topics about this. We've been exploring, we've been doing some market research on individual level, and then we share our thoughts. And we were getting more and more excited when we share our findings. And the dinner was like only the eventual kind of call to action that, oh, let's really get to start, like let's really get some, because we know we have ready to go dev members who can join us. We have a lot of dev resources who have been following us and like working with us for many years. So it's setting up the team and making that decision wasn't that really difficult based on the trust that we have, based on the relationships that we have. So yeah, so that I'm afraid that's the truth that I have to tell. So it's not really making the decision that is challenging. It's really about like sharing the same value. We share the same ethics. We experience the same hurting experience of being a part of a platform while you are not taking any benefits out of it. You are just being the person feeding those data across those tech companies. So we have the similar kind of, we echo with each other with those viewpoints. So it's quite easy for us to find a common sense, find a common grounds that we share the value and the ethics together.
Yep.
And eventually it brings us to Bitcoin and blockchain.
Yep.
So that is a very brief story. But before that, the conversation has been on and on for 6 and 7+ months. And then eventually we came to a final decision point that, okay, we should build something together, and we are seeing opportunities, and we have a rough sense of what kind of business model or what kind of product structure that we should be building. And we have some ready to go resources even in the supply chain as well. So we do have some rough estimation and decision analyzing process to make sure that firstly, this is a good idea to go. Secondly, we are the capable team of doing that. Because only having an idea is not enough. Execution also means a lot. Whether you are the person who should be building and delivering this is also the second important question that everyone needs to answer. I mean, a good idea everyone can think of, but why you, right? So we have to make sure that this is the perfect fit for our team skill set and capabilities. And thirdly, about the timing. That back then it was a very bearish timing. Of course, it was super difficult for fundraising, but it's also good, perfect for building because there was not so many speculations, and the bubbles has gone after the 2017 ICO boom. Like everyone was back to rationale and everyone was back to building. So that is a very good atmosphere that we start to build something from scratches. Yeah, so that explains a little bit of our thought process on some of the personal kind of stories between the founders and the core members.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that was fascinating to hear. And one of the great things about doing the show is getting to dig into many of the curiosities that I have, and hopefully the audience do. And like you say, an idea is cheap, of course. Not that there's not different levels of ideas, but to try and work out, are you going to be able to transact on it, and what the makeup of the individuals doing it, and hearing that you guys had been in sync with each other for such a period before makes so much sense. That that relationship was more tested once then going into the depths of founding, where it will be tested again. And so certainly for me, one of the most important things to look at when you're looking at an early culture coming together, we'll come back to then where you are now, because I want to understand some scale. And the 5 years has been building. So I won't drag you back through that, but we'll talk about scale at the end, so the audience can hear about the amazing scope that you've put together and built. And there's a couple of topics that we'll talk about. Just 2 more things really before we do the Mana round. I do want you just to briefly talk about when you were accelerating as a business. I think you very early on were invested in with and via Binance Labs. And I just wondered, I mean, well, incredible to see also, where they are now. But that moment in time, I would love you just to tell us a story about something that potentially was valuable about that experience, please.
Yes. Interesting fact is that Binance actually hired a lot of our ex-colleagues. So yeah, so we've been knowing some of the core Binance members in the very early stages. So that's how we got to know about the Binance Labs incubation program from day one. And 2017, Binance experienced a huge success of the ICO boom. And then 2018 was the first year that they started to think about, oh, we are not just need to be successful as an exchange ourselves, we'd also need to benefit the ecosystem together. So they set up their own Binance Labs venture arm. They introduced the first incubation program under the umbrella of Binance Labs. And they start to recruit new projects and early stage projects and to be part of the program. And we have been friends with some of core members actually for a long time, because some of them used to work in the same company like we do. So we've been ex-colleagues for a while. So we know that Binance Labs is launching an incubation program. And that was exactly when we have built out our first prototype. Because the first product that we introduced to the market was the SafePal S1 hardware wallet, the one that you're seeing from the website right now. In May or June, I think it's in late May and early June, we got our prototype, a working product, a working demo that can demonstrate our thought process, our product philosophy behind the demo. And then we started to apply for the Binance Labs incubation program. So it was a very lengthy process, I had to say. Like, we started the preparation in July and submitted in August, and there was several rounds of interviews and a lot of massive documents to be filled in, very lengthy kind of docs to be answering all kinds of questions. And yeah, I have to say they are doing a very decent due diligence of all of the teams and backgrounds. Yeah, it took us 2 months. So in late September, we got the great news that we got enrolled and we were invited to San Francisco to join the 10-week incubation program, where all of the incubating portfolios will be joining together. We'll be co-working together in the same space for 10 weeks. And at the end of the 10 weeks, there will be a demo day presentation for all of the portfolios to go on stage. So back then, we were the only wallet project. We were the only hardware wallet project as well. And it's kind of the most challenging model that we are trying to build, because like other projects are mostly building software products, while we are the only one touching hardware. We have a whole supply chain kind of management and whole supply chain resources. So that is kind of very unique of us. And 10 weeks passed really fast. And I can still remember that it's a sunny day in December in San Francisco when we did the demo day. We even designed a scan QR code to get one free demo kind of campaign for all of the participants. We stick the QR code under the chair of every participant. So they didn't really know until we reviewed that, okay, when we finished the 15 minutes of presentation, and I told everybody, now please look under your chair, you're going to see a QR code. That is where you can scan and leave your info to apply for the waitlist, and we're going to ship the product to you for free. Because I remember the participants are roughly 200 for that demo day, mostly VC in the Silicon Valley. And so we did that campaign. So that was a very impressive moment of myself. And after that, like 2019, Binance held a Binance Blockchain Week in Singapore. That was when we officially launched the products. So there was a demo section for the portfolios at the conference, and it was in Singapore. It's super humid, it's super hot, and we flew in with a giant suitcase of more than 100 kind of samples that we have, because we plan to send it out to as many VCs or as many kind of founders and entrepreneurs as we can. So we even till the last moment of the demo, we are still kind of refreshing all of the kind of upgrading all of the firmware to the latest version, because till the last moment, the dev team are still kind of adding new features to make it more perfect. So we've been like the day before, we've been uploading all of the firmwares till midnight, and then finish the dev modes, and then fresh it into official version, and then like they're ready to go. So yeah, we launched like 6 months after the incubation program in Singapore at the Binance Blockchain Week, when we introduced officially to the public that this product is ready for sales. Yeah, so that's kind of the journey of how we started. And I have to say, Binance has been very strict throughout the process, because they don't just pick on you on products. They are also very strict on your business model. And they even invited some mentors to guide us through the whole journey of how to manage your financial balance sheets, how to do proper kind of elevator pitching. They will do all of the kind of elevator pitching kind of presentation for every single founder. They will have like even proofreading for us, like going through our business kind of portfolio deck, and they go really into deep details. So that's how we kind of had a very strong impression of like about the Binance team backgrounds. Yeah. Like most of the Binance members that I've been working with are very professional. They come from very shiny backgrounds, and while they are also being very responsible. So that is rare, because we met a lot of other VCs afterwards. They are totally different style. Probably some of them just do. Probably some of them grew interest in us because we are a Binance portfolio. So hence we probably have other potentials to go deeper or go bigger somehow. And they don't really do proper portfolio management. No. But Binance Labs is one of the VC firms that we are seeing that are doing proper portfolio, or fingers crossed, maybe two proper portfolio management throughout the process. Yeah, so that's
a whole other masterclass session that we need to do.
Okay.
We're working with a bunch of the foundations and venture capitalists in the space, and yeah, as you say, styles are so different. So I mean, certainly for any entrepreneurs, you want to make sure that there's a good alignment. But that's really interesting to hear just how diligent they were, and really the moment then where, after having done that, I mean, this all sounds so exciting. There's so many serendipitous things that you did that sound creative that you don't know how much it's contributed to the success, but certainly you were different because you had a piece of hardware, having something in someone's hand, and then, putting the QR codes underneath VC's chairs and knowing to focus on that, and actually how much that can spread things out is really shrewd. But from a product perspective, getting this into retail individuals' hand, there must be a moment that you remember where you and the team, or you just thought, oh my God, we've done this. We've got something here. There's traction. Like, there was a vision, there was an idea, there's a good founding team. You went through the arduous process of getting onto that Binance Labs incubator. But when's the moment where you go, oh my God, this could be really big?
There are two moments that really came across my memory. Firstly, struck me when you asked that question. The first moment is that when we had a very tight and neat Telegram community in day one. I still remember before we launched the software wallet for the first year, when we only had a single product, that is the S1 hardware wallet. And as you probably know, only probably OGs or tech savvies are interested in the niche of hardware wallets. Honestly, it's still tricky to use for newcomers. We have a small, tight group of 900 members. They are all hardware wallet users. We verify them one by one. And they've been sharing their experience. They've been kind of sharing their own crypto journey, and they have been kind of helping each other. And they've been introducing SafePal product to their friends. That's the first, very earliest touching moment that we have, that we literally know that we're building something that is useful. At least it's very useful to some of the users. And we listen to their feedback very frequently, and the bonding is very tight. And some of them become our full-time member afterwards. It's we have our first hiring, and we have several of our members who are still working with us till now. They joined as actually the first hardware wallet user. And they were there 4 years ago when we launched the product. They were the first one to buy the product, and later on they became our employee and working with us together. So that is amazing. That is the first moment that struck us as, oh, we are building something that is really useful. And the second moment was when the DeFi summer came along, when we built a very creative product that is related to BNB chain. Actually, 2020, December 2020 was the DeFi trend kind of starting to picking up, and then we are seeing BNB chain launching as a new chain while gaining the momentum. We built a very creative product that is called BNB Chain Bridge. Back then, it was not even available in the BNB chain, its own ecosystem. It means that SafePal was the first ever product supporting the BNB chain bridge to allow users to migrate their funds across Ethereum to this new chain to participate in the PancakeSwap, IDO, and the liquid staking and the mining process and yield farming. And that kind of growth of BNB chain ecosystem kind of brought huge success to the product as well. That was also triggered by our unique advantages of the product and the user experience that we have. Basically, all of the top DeFi protocols back then were shielding our products. Like they were shielding that, guys, check out SafePal wallet. There's a built-in Binance, that kind of BNB chain bridge available that you can move money very easily in a few clicks. That please go ahead and download it, and then you can use PancakeSwap and you can use Bakery Swap. These are all organic growth that we have. And it's amazing journey that we are seeing the community consensus. It's spreading very fast. It's faster than any paid kind of campaigns or influencer marketing whatsoever that we have done ever before. And we are seeing this power of building useful, helpful, and friendly user experience, really shaping how your user growth curve would look like. And these are all organic growth that we are seeing. So we are seeing these moments that are really meaningful to us because it keeps proving that from day one, our idea and our product philosophy is right. It keeps strengthening our belief in blockchain and transparency in the whole decentralized ecosystem altogether. It keeps strengthening our own judgment over how the next wave of wallet onboarding and user journey would look like. So these are all of the amazing moments that struck me as the strongest moment. And also for building a team, right? It's like hiring from the community is the best thing that you can ever think about and imagine. You have solid user, you have loyal users supporting your product from day one, and later on they became your own core members, so putting the whole career and the company together. So I'm very proud to be saying that, and I feel so happy because this is also some very precious journey and a memory that we have, apart from building a wallet business, but also building a team. Yeah. So that is kind of a very amazing magic of Web3 overall.
It's so amazing to hear it. There's so many things here that are just master classes. Getting the first 100 fans is pretty well-known essay, and it's no easy thing. And you said there was 900 or 1,000 or so super user OGs who you then could get like amazing feedback from, and then actually those people are in your culture, in your team.
Exactly.
It's so fantastic. At a moment where it's that DeFi summer 2020 and you go, okay, this is it, there's traction, this is this is something I'm going to be doing for a period of time. We're going to be building a big solution here. What do you do as a founder at that moment? If you take one particular moment, it's the end of the day and you're like, oh my God, this is an amazing day. Like I'm looking at our metrics and it's just blowing up. What's your style? Are you, so sorry to be personal, but are you kind of in those moments almost like stressed and the anxiety of like having to deliver into it and like coming up with the next thing, this is never good enough? Or do you take moments to appreciate it and think, okay, now I need to stay focused and there's calmness? These are two very different styles that I've seen, and everybody's somewhere in the middle. What's or different? What did you do in that DeFi summer where in a moment, in an evening where you're like, it's going amazing, what's my responsibility as the leader? How am I going to treat this moment?
It's like frequently heaven and hell at the same time. It's like heaven, when you read some positive comments, you have some very uplifting moods in the community, and you receive a 5-star review, for example. And hell when you read some people getting hacked and you receive some very negative kind of reviews and comments because people use malicious dApps in the wallet and they blame it on the wallet itself. So it's kind of a very bumpy journey for me personally. And I'm the type of person who will drive into a lot of details. So like building a company is not like, oh, I set up a strategy and now team, like let's split up and then everyone work on it, right? It's like you are the person who is paying all of the attention to all of the details that other members probably would not pay attention to. And you are the final backup person to catch all of the balls that would be falling on the ground very soon. You'll be the backup kind of candidates for all of the overwhelming workload or pipeline in the team that, for example, for marketing, operation, PR, external communication, etc., and even customer support. Because in peak time, I will also have to jump into the customer support team to basically answering those tickets, even though audience might probably don't know that is me behind the scene. I probably use another name, but it's actually me replying the tickets. So it's being a founder of a very small Web3 startup means that it's every time very bumpy, and you have to pay attention to a lot of details because you don't know whether the user is going to come back again to seek help if you don't satisfy them with what they need. So we are kind of constantly under this pressure of meeting with user demands, building something that people need, doing market research and closely monitoring the market trends, because it moves so fast in Web3 that people today, they talk about NFT, tomorrow probably talk about, I don't know, NFC or NFD, whatever. So it's like user demands kind of move along the way, and we have to be careful of balancing the ever-changing user demands and the limited resources that we have in our hands. So I'm the person who is collecting, it's like an information or research channel that I'm the person who is closely collecting all of those information and then throw them upon the product team, tell them like, check it out, guys, there's a new kind of tools that we probably can use, or there's a new competitor popping out and they're doing really creative campaign. Can we do something? Or they are like, I saw this kind of user comments and it should never happen. Why is this user ever complaining about a bug that should never happen in the product? I would straight throw into the internal Discord channels that we have. And honestly, I don't know how the other team members will feel, probably pretty stressful, because I've been throwing a lot of these kind of details information to keep them very intense and sometimes stressful. But on the other hand, I also very respect privacy. So in our team, we have a culture that we work hard and play hard. So we kind of encourage the work-life balance. So after work, in the off-work time, we try not to disturb any member in their off-work time, and we respect each other's privacy. Because I have 3 kids, I have my family. I also need to balance a lot between my work and my life. So it's the same for other members. So we are a group of people that is working super hard when we are on the core duty. And we are kind of relaxing ourselves and then appreciating the day of hard working when we finish the day and close the laptop. So yeah, that is the spirit and culture that we're encouraging. That is also a lifestyle that I'm trying to achieve, even though sometimes often off the balance, because I simply keep tracking all of the Telegram, Discord, WhatsApp, all kinds of messagings all the time in emails. Right now, really there's an information exposure all the time. So yeah, so even though sometimes off the balance, but still that is the kind of ideal situation that we're trying to achieve. But honestly, it's not easy. It's not easy to build user-facing products like an application, because you have so many users to cater to. You have to pay attention to so many different kinds of user profiles and different user demands from those different profiles. So it's really tricky to balance because you only have a very small team to move ahead. You have to make a very careful decision to allocate your limited resources into different kind of pipeline and funnels to make sure it is right. So yeah, so that's how I describe it. Overall, it's very satisfying and also discouraging at the moment as a founder, as a builder, because every day you are receiving information, positive, negative, it like in the same time. So
yeah, it's
overall very exciting.
I think people kind of say to me, you know, at various points, like, Lloyd, you must be like delusional, like, you know, because they'll read the press of what's going on in the markets and you know of all the challenges, and I'm like, yes, I think you slightly have to be, you know, you need to be focused on something and just bloody minded that you're going to get there. And you're talking about the culture there is really fascinating, because there's a huge debate, and I think again we can do a whole other show on this, where, you know, do you have a culture that is really focused on you know, 4-day work week and work-life balance and all these phrases and benefits that we certainly saw you know, for the last few years from big tech and companies like Google, and then startups having to compete with those type of incentives, and then other type of attitudes which are just completely cavalier, you know, 24/7 working, and it's a huge topic. But how you put it there is, I think, a good way to think about how you need to be in a ambitious startup, which is, you know, you've got to be very clear with anybody when they're joining the team. You know, this is going to be challenging. There is going to be a dynamic of always change. So you're going to need to enjoy that. And you are going to need to work ferociously hard, which is something it feels like you couldn't really say for the last 7 years. But on the same note, we have lives, you know,
Yeah.
and people are in different phases in it. And you know, not to the level that, you know, you've been a mother and had 3 children through this period. I had a daughter who pretty much is exactly the same time as when I founded the Mana Group. And you know, when you've kind of got a child, it puts a lot of things in perspectives. I find, because in so many different ways you can see natural human psychology,
Yeah.
and then it's really interesting, isn't it? Because you're on the side of like, not only am I raising this family, which is a whole thing in itself, which is you know, wonderful but challenging, heaven and hell.
Yeah.
And you've got a company, and from the perspective of an entrepreneur, you know, you feel like you're giving everything. But of course, that won't always be the way that people will receive it, because, you know, someone might approach them from another company and say, hey, I'll give you this, and there's, you know, there's a 4-day working week, and you know, you don't want to go into the office, you don't need to go into the office, or you want to go into the office, you go into the office. And it's so unbelievably challenging to try and get that culture right. So all you can really do, I believe, is be yourself. And if being yourself is that you're ferocious in work, you're the researcher, you see things and you have expectations, I believe that that's the best way to go about it, not treading on eggshells. But you've done all of this, you know, which is obviously another massive topic, as a female entrepreneur. And I don't really personally like to bring it up too much, because I think how you've talked to every topic has been enough to show.
I think we need to have a separate episode for that. I think this is such an amazing topic that, like, I have so many things to comment and share, like about shaping the company culture, how to properly balance working ferociously while having your own personal life. Because I definitely think that we all need some personal moments. We are running a marathon. It's not a racing competition that we have. It's a marathon. It's 5 years, another 10 years, another 20 years. We all hope to build a business that lasts forever, right? So it's a marathon. So keeping a healthy cycle of, like, everyone's mental status is key. And this is also challenging for the strategy thinking for the founders team, because you can't risk all your team members of doing a firefighters, like catching up all the balls at the same time, or catching up or reacting to all of the market situation, whatever, and anything pops up. You can't really keep everyone under that status. It's not healthy psychologically. So it's really, that means the management team needs to have a clear forecast of the next couple of weeks. Don't rush every detail to the last minute. And you do need to have some emergency model. You have to make it very clear to other members as well that some emergencies would happen. For example, some big things happen like SVB, big things happen like FTS crisis, right? We always have a backup plan when everyone is on the war room and we work together. But that is just a very small sprints that we have, a very small sprints and very small racing, probably a week or 2 weeks that everyone can handle. But after that, we need to go back to normal life. So I am the person who favor that kind of balance. It also means that we need to carefully plan ahead of what we have, the work forecast, the workloads, even the hiring plan. Also, we need to knit it into the near future plan. The longer future that we can look into, the easier that we can go off our pace, so that you are not dragged along by all different kind of trends. Because every day there are new topics popping up. You can't really catch up. You have to be mentally kind of stable, and so you have a healthy cycle to go, and then you pipeline your work in a reasonable range. I think this is a fascinating topic that we should really talk about, because I'm seeing a lot of crazy teams working. I also know some founders who are crazily forcing their team members to work day and night and 24/7. I think that's crazy. I think it only makes sense for a very short time frame, but in the longer term, it's not going to be sustainable. So yeah, I'm seeing so many different kind of style. I'm also learning my own style, because sometimes people would judge me as too bossy. Sometimes people would judge me as you are so too easy on them. But it really depends on the situation. So yeah, I'm still learning. So 5 years is a very short journey for that one.
We'll definitely set up another conversation on that point, because of course that's the core business that we have with Mana. So I don't want to skim through it. That's a whole 2-hour conversation. So let's just go back to, I want to understand where this ambition, bossiness, maybe entrepreneurialism, all the things that have made you who you are comes from. So we'll do them on around, but just before that, I like to ask the guest to just help me and the audience understand a little bit about maybe some of the influences early on you had, and you can go back really as early as you think would be interesting, and the environment that you grew up in, and potentially, if looking back on it, you now feel like certain influences heavily impacted your character and who you are, and that entrepreneurialism, please.
I think my first job and also my last job kind of shaped my whole kind of career and personality, because I used to work in a Fortune 500 company which is building a very comprehensive streamline and workflow and making sense of every detail of teamwork and how you should build and deliver your work. I think for most of the people, that their first job in their career life would change or shape their career and personality a lot. And at least that's the case for me. So because I used to work with government relationship, consumer operation, customer success, sales operations, basically all of the positions that is handling and doing conversation and talking to people, heavily communication. So that means I would more or less pay more attention to people's feeling, how they feel through proper communications. And also I pay a lot of attention to details. That's how it shapes really my kind of management style. But
Veronica, that's really interesting. So we in Mana Lab work with Imperial College on looking at the future of work. That's another show. It's fascinating. I love it. And one of the things that we're looking at the moment with a PhD candidate is leadership empathy, because we determined, and it's not rocket science, but the research has come back very compelling on this point, that's right up there as one of the skill sets. And the research was, which there's been no research on, looking at where does that come from? And without leading this too much, the reason I try and dig back even before your first job is because it tends to come from a few different experiences, one of them being that the individual has had many different environments. So example would be, let's say somebody went to a town or a school where it was quite privileged, and let's say also for a period of time they were in an environment that was less privileged. This would allow them to comprehend the different type of scenarios people have, and therefore if they're directing or managing or thinking through customers have empathy, and not everybody does, because they've, you know, been quite focused on maybe just the environment they've come from. So I like you to think through that, actually, and, you know, really early on, understand what your environment was, because I'm trying to pick up on the trends of that, and you've just said that's what you've got. You've clearly got great communication, empathy, understanding people. Where might that have come from?
I am the younger child of my family. Actually, my parents got divorced when I was a very small baby, and I lived with my mom, and my elder brother lives with my dad. And then later on, my mom married to my stepfather, who is a primary teacher. Actually, he is like my biological father already, because that was in my very infancy stage, like less than a year old. So I later on became the literally physical kind of only child of the new setup family. And I basically have all of the attention. I have all of the best resources in the family. And my mom has been a housewife for her whole life, while my dad is the primary teacher who's been teaching, and he's been super responsible to his teaching career. And I have been growing up with teachers. Like basically, I'm among all kinds of teachers. I think that's kind of interesting, because I don't know how you feel, but in my primary school life, when I was very young, I noticed that like people are afraid of their own teachers. Like they are afraid of asking questions. They are afraid of showing up in front of a teacher, or they are afraid of seeing their teacher, like out of the classroom. But because of my living environments, I've been living with teachers all my life in my young age. I learned to ask questions. I learned to respect while live with authorities, because I know that people treat teachers as kind of authorities, and they dare not to challenge them. They dare not to conversate with them. While that is not the same case for me. So actually, in a very young stage, I've been asking all kinds of questions. And I dare to speak out in front of like teachers, in front of the classroom. And that kind of shape my part of my personality of like learn to dive deeper, learn to ask the questions, and learn from others. Like even though they are much older than you do, even though they are sort of authorities in the industry. And later on, like I think my mom also contributes a lot to my early childhood, because she's been the person who's taking care of me and my dad for the whole life. And she's been this wholehearted housewife who is paying the whole attention on the family, nothing else. She takes care of us so well. And sometimes I think I got some of my bossiness from her as well, because like she is some kind of a little bit control freak, but fingers crossed. But I don't know, like it's like every teenage period that we experience, like your mom, you're constantly fighting over your mom because she's simply so controlling over you. But I think that shapes a lot of my personality as well, that is being super caring to your family and being very responsible of who you are up to, what you are up to, and always deliver a result, like always deliver. Because she will always tell me that she would teach me some social ethics, like when you visit the other people's house, condo for the first time, what you should do, or whenever you get home, even though I'm not waiting, you need to let me know that you arrived home. So it's a very typical kind of Asian mom of style, but that teaches me about responsibility, about delivering the result no matter what, about giving real kind of outcome, building the outcome out there, and then show to others. So I think these are some of the like elements that kind of shape my personality a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of, like it's like a looping up cycle, that every time you pick up some compliments from others, that strengthens that personality of yours. So like if from middle school to high school, a lot of my friends would comment me as like I'm being a very responsible person because I'm always taking care of others. I'm always the kind of small leader, kind of organizing the stuff. For example, when we go to camping, when we go to, I don't know, like outdoor activities, I will also always be the person reminding people, tomorrow you should take this and that. So I'm always like a small mom. So these kind of reliability, personality gets strengthened along the years when people kind of know that this is kind of the most kind of outstanding personality that you have. You are trying to make sure everyone is comfortable. You are trying to be responsible to all of the participants inside a small cycle, and you are trying to deliver great results by making everyone happy. Sometimes it could be very tiring. I have to admit, because like right now in my 35 age, I'm trying to balance it back a little bit of caring less about what people think and then really focus on what I would feel. So that is a kind of journey that I am growing in a way like this, but I'm trying to bend it back a little bit to balance between the external world and my internal psychological world. So that's how I grew up and how I was shaped, because my childhood, because my family, because how my parents raised me, because they impact me the most because I'm the only single kid in the new family. And yeah, that's kind of I think that is kind of how it shaped me, and then it got strengthened along the way. Like, because like everybody knows that, oh, Veronica is so responsible. Like Veronica is the most reliable person. I can always talk to her about all of the matters that I have, or I can always come to her when I lose track of something. So this kind of personality, and then you got your first job when you work in a big tech company, and then these kind of personalities are adding your credibility in your career because you are delivering results in a very responsible manner, and your leaders love it. It's going to continue to strengthen like that. So
yeah,
I think that's how it's really shaping my current kind of management style and personality. And also due to the fact that I'm also a working mom, I have a very deep empathy of other working parents, like working dads or working moms. So that's why I'm trying to balance, even same for balancing myself, same to balance other members of their work-life balance. So I will try to, for example, do very early workload forecasts in showing or sharing with other members what to expect for the next 2 or 3 weeks, so that we can have properly things sorted out. And then you have your personal time properly managed with your family that we don't really touch upon that. And while we also have a great result delivered. So that's kind of the style that kind of inherited from my personality a little bit.
Yeah, that fills so much color in. So look, that's why I push. Most people kind of skip to when work starts, and I don't want to be a dime psychologist here, but it's so interesting, because that really explains certainly the starts of understanding some of those expectations put on you and that you put on yourself. And the whole point about searching for Mon of the show, and why it's such a pleasure for me, I had to think, am I going to forever be curious about this type of topic? Because it'll be a marathon, and the good news is that I am, because what I've found is so many people can get to the end of what's perceived externally as a successful career and really actually not be that happy about it, right? Because perhaps they dropped the ball in their personal life, or perhaps actually the thing they built they don't really care about, but there was pressure on them having this external success. And is that to a peer group, or is that to a parent, or is that to themselves? And so the things to think through, which clearly you are, is Warren Buffett puts it as an inner scorecard versus an outer scorecard. And I like to think of it like that. So if you have an inner scorecard where you're assessing yourself based on your ambition, and if your ambition is very high, that's great. But also that in my inner scorecard, I want to make sure that, I'm a good father, I'm a good mother. I want to have some of those experiences and not look back in 10 years and go, my God, I didn't, even experience any family moments because I was so focused on this external scorecard, which was to my peer group. I needed to come across as this massively successful person and always have the responsibility. So to walk that line is why there's endless curiosity for me on the show, because it is so hard. It's an imperfect science, but certainly what I hope the show does is not show people a biography written by somebody who's 70, who through rose-tinted glasses is looking back on their amazing career. And, there's this one paragraph about the struggle of the 10 years where they set it all up. And then you read and, actually you're like, I don't know if I want to be that person. Was that person actually overall happy? Because that's what it's all about, right? And
it's shocking even. Yeah, it's shocking when you look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's trying to look at it as, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be moments, as you say, where you're in the war room if you take something on like you have. But, overall, why you're doing it, you've got to do it because your inner scorecard is happy being a responsible person. Your inner scorecard is confident being somebody who will question authority as you did at school. And so I think that it feels like you probably are in, relatively speaking, the perfect position, but there's always things to work on. So absolutely fascinating. So into the Mana round, so it's just kind of like 4 or 5 quick fire questions, and speak to them as much or short answers as you'd like to. I don't know what your favorite publication is, but think of something like The Economist or the FT or Forbes. If you could have the cover of that publication, what would you put onto it?
Wow. Let me think about it. Probably still related to what we've been building, like what SafePal has been building and delivering. Actually, that's a very interesting thing because we brainstormed that, I think 2 months ago when we have an internal meeting, and we printed out this A4 sheet of paper with the news headlines. I think the news headline that we use is the Times. So we kind of printed up the Times kind of headline, and we have the head report line kind of space empty. And we invited everyone to fill in, like, what is the title that you want to be reported on the headline of the Times newspaper. Yeah, and we did all of that. And the version that I wrote for myself is that Web3 company SafePal hitting the billion user scaling point and become the largest Web3 wallet in the space. So that's the one that I wrote for myself, because I still feel that Web3 and crypto, it has so much a potential to be grow and scaling. And we are just at the very earliest kind of tiptoeing points to onboard the next wave of internet users into Web3 space. And we feel so excited about that. So when we did that exercise, like the first idea that ever came to my mind is like seeing SafePal to become the next kind of default Web3 wallet for all of the crypto users in the space. And we're reaching a billion user base scaling already. So that is the kind of the most ambitious dream or vision that we're gonna envision for ourselves. And yeah, I still kept that piece of paper. I think it's in my bookshelf or something. I will take a picture and show it to you. But it's definitely amazing. One of the most interesting exercises that we did. Yeah, and I think this is also quite important to be asked by like to founders and entrepreneurs, is that what is the end vision that you're seeing for your company? And what is the real goal or real kind of end game that you are really envisioning for yourselves? Because like along the way, when we are building and we are founding a company, sometimes we will easily get lost. Like we'll easily be impacted or influenced by a lot of different trends, and some trending, maybe popular, maybe hot topics, but not necessarily contributing to what you are building. We have to be very rational and be very reasonable to tell the difference. So I think it's quite of a very important exercise that we should keep doing, like every 6 months or something. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I'd like to see the visual. Do send that to me. What keeps you up at night?
Security, I would say. Okay, so personal level or entrepreneur level? Because for entrepreneur level, it's mostly about security, because like right now there are simply so many hacking cases happening. It's either hacking the wallet or it's either hacking the dApps, whatever, hacking our partners, even though like it's really the security is getting me up at night, like because we don't really know when a bomb is going to be exploded. Because security is a very complicated concept. Like it has a lot of different layers if you think about it. And if you look into a lot of the security hacking cases happening in the last week or in the last year, a lot of them were not because the team was not building the right products. A lot of products are great products, they had success and they built the code just as the way it should be. But it was due to other, I don't know, social engineering, some other kind of chain effects kind of attacks that they got impacted. So that is kind of the worst nightmare I can think of, to be honest. Like as a wallet builder, the last thing you would like to see is that the wallet got hacked, or the wallet got, like, people lose money because of using your products. That is kind of the most worst nightmare that we can imagine. While on personal level, that is like my family got sick because I have 4 elder parents right behind me and my husband. So I think families members of healthy meals is like right now the most kind of outstanding kind of topics that I and my husband will pay a lot of attention to. Will cover the health insurance and all of that. I think that's probably the same for a lot of other kind of working couples and parents out there. So yeah, that's entrepreneur level and personal level.
Do you have a morning ritual that you could talk to us about?
I right now wake up every day 7 a.m. and then I don't eat breakfast. So actually I work from home. My commute distance is 1 meter. my commute time needed is 5 seconds. So I just wake up like, it really depends on how late I've been working in the previous night. Usually I will check my messages and reply email in my late night because that is when nobody is going to bother me. So I will sit down and then reply to all of the messages, the DMs, the emails, and then go to bed. And then the other day start the new cycle. So usually I'll go to bed by 11 p.m. And then get up like by 7 because I do try to get enough sleep for myself. And then after brushing my teeth and washing my face, and that's it, I straight had my working desk, and then that's it. It's right next to my bed, and I don't have anything to complain about it, right? This is only 1 meter away from my bed. So I then start working. It's a very normal working day for me. And it's, I don't know how other founders would feel, but I'm not a socialized person. Actually, I told a lot of my friends, but they don't believe it. I'm actually introvert inside, but I have an external personality that is very socialized and very easygoing, etc. But I actually, down in my private life, I try to shut down as many events or parties that I can go to as possible. So I try to maintain a very simple lifestyle that I have. That is focusing on my job, focusing on my works, focusing on taking care of my family at the same time, try to balance it, try to schedule the time when the kids are not at home, and then like when they are asleep. So actually after 9 p.m. is a perfect slot. 9 to 11 or 9 to 12 p.m. a.m. is a perfect slot for my work as well, because I'm not bothered by anybody, including my family. So I would try to do a very healthy kind of cycle on myself. So I would try to shut down as many noises as possible, because as we grow bigger and bigger, sometimes there will be different events or partnerships or calls or offline meetings that you will have to attend to. But I think it's quite important for a founder to really shut down some of the noises and some of the unnecessary social events to really focus on building, because at the end of the day, it's the users who are paying you the business model, right? It's the users who are supporting your success of the company. So I think it's quite important for us to really keep that in mind. So that's my morning ritual. So it's very simple, like 5 minutes of washing and then brushing and then go to work. So depending on how late I stayed up last night.
Very, very efficient. Is there a and you can choose both or one or the other. Is there a kind of mantra or a book and or both that you tend to go back to a lot that you'd like to talk to the audience about?
I keep reading Principles written by Ray Dalio.
Yes.
Many times. I keep reading that. I know it's a kind of a cliche. It's a very popular book already, but it did influence me a lot of my career style, of my living style. How should I balance? How should I be responsible and really managing and taking full control of my life? I think that is a wonderful book that I would keep reading. I read it 3 times already, and I almost use it as a dictionary. because every time I have different kind of live problematic moments, I will read it again and then have some new thoughts and new ideas out of it. So that is definitely, like, also I recently, the third time was done recently, so that is a book that I will keep reading. If I only recommend a book, that is the one.
Yeah, thank you so much. Then last couple of questions. If you were to recommend anybody to come onto the Searching for Mana show, you think it'd be a really fascinating guest for the audience to listen to, who would that be?
I want to hear founder of Blur.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's just because recently we've been doing some market research. I'm super curious about the team behind. This kind of super lightning attack on its competitor, it's very unique and very unique growth model they're building. I know it's very controversial because it's putting a dilemma for a lot of the NFT creators, because NFT creators shouldn't be choosing sides, and they should have their own decision making of who the loyalty, how much loyalty they should be charging, anything like that. But on a company level, on a business level, I think Blur did have a very successful model to bootstrap itself in a very early stage. I think it would be very interesting to listen to more of the lifestyle and the personal story behind the team. Yeah, so that's the first one that really came to my mind.
Yeah, oh, I love it. Like very deeply in that space, and having conversations for that as it is, and there's a lot going on, so that will go up the top of my list. So fascinating, absolutely fascinating, their strategy. So Searching for Mana, it's your magic, it's your superpower. You know, it might be the thing that can make you jump really high, sprint really quick, fly, be super strong, whatever it might be. Veronica, what's your mana?
I think my personal mana is like user-centric kind of spirit or culture that we are shaping behind the team, behind the company. I think that is something that really helped us to be successful to this moment. It's also really the secret sauce of like how we are building a successful wallet company to nowadays. I think, yeah, I would say that, a very short answer.
So when we make the mana cards, user-centric, Veronica, 10 out of 10.
Yes.
Amazing, awesome. Veronica, that's been really kind of you to give so much time to all of these topics, and I think we can do about 7 other shows.
Yes, already we have so many things that we can talk about.
But I just want to, if we've got several more minutes, just finish on some metrics and some exciting things coming down the road that you're working on. So just to start with, I haven't really given the audience an idea of the scope of the organization right now. Could you take us through that, please?
Yes, we are building non-custodial wallet. So this is the key word, like non-custodial wallet, meaning that we don't store people's personal information. We are building a product that people can take full control over their assets. We are also providing comprehensive wallets. So it's not a single type of product that we are building. We are building multiple. It means that we have hardware wallets for OG and tech-savvy person. We have mobile wallet who favors convenience as well. We have browser extension who treasures desktop experience when they're using, when they are doing yield staking and all of that. So we are providing all different kind of wallet suites so that people can they can manage, they can secure, they can grow, swap, bridge, do whatever they like with their own decentralized assets. And they are the core person to do, like, to take it full control. So right now, like, through the wallet, we are providing way beyond what a wallet should do. So we are offering all different kinds of assets management solutions, such as fiat on-ramp, such as a gas fee station where you can swap for a small amount of gas fee when you only have some stable coins, for example. And we also have security filtering to protect your wallet from malicious dApps. So we are building so much more value beyond the wallet. Eventually, SafePal will become the Web3 gateway that is going to bridge the users to the unlimited Web3 ecosystem. So that is the scope that we are trying to build. That is the kind of landscape that we are trying to deliver.
And where are you on this marathon to what you put on the front of Times? That's a big number, 1 billion people using it. I'm all behind you. I want that to happen. Where are we on that journey? When do you see that being possibly achieved?
I think that is right now we have up to 10 million users global wide. That's still a very small number, honestly. We think it's still at least 2 years ahead because the blockchain technology needs time to evolve, and now is not the perfect timing to really to make it that easy to onboard the internet users. Right now, we are seeing MPC solution, we are seeing account abstraction, EIP 457. We are seeing private key sharding, all these kind of solutions surrounding the topics of how to eliminate the existence of C phrase storage. So people don't need to bother to manage their own C phrase. They can have social recoveries. Things that are becoming a norm in the Web 2 world, they are trying to make it a standard in Web 3 as well. So we are seeing these obstacles still lying ahead, and people have difficulty of onboarding their assets into crypto. They have difficulty managing their C phrase. They also have difficulty of enjoying the interchain, cross-chain operabilities. So these are all of the difficulties that all of the teams in Web3 need to tackle together in order to make it mature and ready for the next billion users on board. So I think that is a very important topic that a lot of the teams are thinking of right now. And also, if we go to conferences this year, a lot of conferences actually have this agenda of discussing how we are onboarding the next billion users on board. But I think that is at least 1 or 2 years ahead of us, because it's only starting from this year that people are paying more attention to this topic, to this niche markets, to this niche kind of technology. And then we are seeing rapid changes in the technology. And we are going to see that future coming to us as well in a very short time. So I'm quite confident that it's going to be solved altogether. And then we are going to see the next billion users onboarding. And also on top of that, application also means a lot, because a lot of other lower infrastructure layer of obstacles are still hindering the builders of building real live applications on top of blockchain. Sometimes people right now are still talking about TPS. They are still talking about like a gas fee cost, like how expensive it is to really build an application on top. And people are right now segregating their application as an offline or centralized system while only having the tokenomics on blockchain. So people are right now debating or finding their way to how to properly launch an application structure that can really serve the billion users online. So you have to be caring about the data storage, on-chain operability, speed, and technical tangibility and security. So these are a lot of the infrastructure layer problems that a lot of layer 1 and layer 2s should be answering and solving. And yeah, so to my opinion, it really depends on firstly the user onboarding journey. Like when can we see the day comes when people don't need to bother about losing their C phrase at all? The second would be when we are going to see the possibility of launching a massive scale serving application on top of blockchain, with zero off-chain kind of interaction. Like it's all completely built on top of the blockchain. So that is also another important topic that we are seeing a lot of layer 1 and layer 2s are debating and discussing about. Like layer 1s are talking about like faster and cheaper. Right now, we are seeing Arbitrum and Polygon also picked up the momentum because of that. So that's another interesting thing that I think would determine how fast we can move toward the next billion level of user adoption.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, like you at conferences and all over the place, people are using a similar type of metrics of let's onboard a billion people, which I think we're all really excited about, and I'm sure will happen. So I'm trying to kind of think, what's my part in that? Because I'm not going to do that. So I'm kind of with the lower ambition of I'm going to organize the talent within that within the companies. That's achievable.
Please
That's
do.
achievable for us, yeah, which is also quite crucial, right? There's so many different things in it. Okay, Veronica, thank you so much. We're going to have to do 7 other shows. I'd say like a massive congratulations for everything you've achieved to date. So many inspiring lessons for me and for the audience. And we wish you all the best moving forward. Thank you so much for coming on to Searching for Mana.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity. It's a really enjoyable conversation that I had. Thank you so much.